What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Life on the Wellspring, Pensacola podcast. My name is Brian.
And I'm Craig.
Nice. Man, hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. We're in this podcast, in this series. We've done a couple of them now where we're trying to talk about real life, meaning like what does it mean to be a Christ follower in real life? Or
right.
How do I approach or interact with other people, with circumstances, with problems in real life?
In a practical sense.
Yeah, and take what I believe with me in a way that other people can interact with me and it be real.
Right.
So that's kind of the purpose of this series and what we've been in. So what do we got today?
So I've been thinking about this idea about if I'm following Christ and I'm trying to live my life, and what does that look like? And when perhaps I get a little bit too caught up in trying to do lots of good things and trying to do these good works, and even getting a little critical of others who are maybe not doing good works.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, yeah. So just thinking, well, that seems to be something that happens on a fairly regular basis, and I fall into the trap more often than once. And so I thought we could unpack that a little bit today.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think if I'm going to be a Christ follower, I want to do good.
Yeah.
Like I want to live my life in a way where when people interact with me, it's for God's glory and for the good of other people.
Sure.
So I want to do good things. So
here's the first question that comes to mind: what is good? What is good?
Yeah, that's a...
Yeah, and I think we could spend a lot of time on that one.
Yeah,
but let's give it a quick shot. I mean, I think that obviously what is good there's plenty of things that are listed in the Bible that are good things to do. Mm-hmm. But does that mean if I'm doing 99 out of 100 and you're only doing 97 that I'm better than you?
You're gooder than me?
Yeah, I'm betterer.
Yeah. Maybe. I think for me, I think it's easy to fall into a perspective that's just my own. Like, so what's good is what's good to me.
Yeah.
Wow. What I determine as good. I'm doing this thing and I call it good.
Right.
But not everything that I call good doesn't necessarily mean that was good.
There you go. And I think we're starting to get to the point there now, right? So we judge good through our own lens, through our own eyes.
Yeah.
I always like to think of the example, if I'm driving along the traffic and someone cuts me off, like, he's not good, right?
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
Yeah, bad driver.
Right, he's bad. But if I'm driving along and cut someone off because I was distracted or I'm thinking about something else or I'm having a bad day, then I'm it wasn't as bad as him.
Yeah.
But yet it's the exact same action, right? So,
I know, yeah. That's a perfect example because I think that way all the time.
Yeah. Me too.
Everyone that drives faster than me is a maniac,
right.
And everyone that drives slower than me is a moron.
Yep.
And I'm just the perfect, like I drive good.
Yeah.
And if I'm driving a little erratically, I have a good reason.
Good reason. Yeah.
So that might be bad, but I had a good reason to do it.
But the other guy didn't.
Of course not.
The other guy didn't have a good reason to cut me off or to be speeding or doing whatever.
It would be impossible because he's not me.
Right.
Right.
So, so this idea of good is often and almost always difficult to not see through our own lens as opposed to the lens of God.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's an easy thing to fall into because we see it very prevalently in the church. I think this is a human problem, but I think it gets exacerbated in the church of maybe being a little pious or a little too religious.
Yeah. Why do you think that happens? Why do we all fall into that trap so easily?
I want to give a thoughtful answer because knowing myself, I could throw out some things that are maybe a little hyperbolic.
Right.
So I want to try to give a thoughtful answer as to why we would do that. I think it's the pressure that we put on ourselves to be good, to perform.
Yep.
Because I think if you're a Christ follower and you've so you've started to follow Jesus. You've received something from God that you could never produce on your own, that you could never get on your own. God's grace and forgiveness has been given to you. And I think because of how we relate to other people, because of most of our relationships here, a lot of times I can just copy and paste that onto my relationship with God and say, well, I have to be good. My version of good.
Yep.
I have to be good so God can be pleased with me, or this is how I'm supposed to be. Right. And so I'm supposed to be this. And so then all of a sudden, a measuring stick comes out, a measuring rod comes out.
Oh, I love measuring.
And
I'm an engineer. I
you
love
love it,
statistics, right?
Your face lit up as soon as I said
measuring and me just hand in glove.
That's amazing. But all of a sudden, when I feel that pressure, I have to begin to measure my good somehow. And the only way that I can do that is to measure my good against yours.
Right.
And say like, well, looks like I'm doing a little better.
Yep.
And then that maybe I get a little high on myself and feel good about myself. Or maybe that's all just a mask and I actually feel terrible about myself. And this is the only thing that I can do to, make my way through the world at the moment.
Right.
But
I'm reminded then of the scripture in Romans where it says, there is none good, no, not even one.
Yeah.
And so as much as I think I'm doing good, as much as I'm trying to do the right thing, that I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm not good.
Yeah. I feel like I am acutely aware of this.
Yeah.
Even when I feel like I've done something good,
right.
I'm the type of person where I like to hear, hey, good job.
Good job.
Hey, good job.
Absolutely.
I like to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
I like to hear it. I used to lie to myself and say like, well, I only want to hear it from certain people. That is not a stranger on the street could be like, hey man, good job. And I'll be like, yes, thanks.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Like, that's not true. I just want to hear good job.
Yep.
And so since I'm that type of person, I want to hear that all the time.
Yep.
And so I think, I totally lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
I think we're
I got so excited about hearing good job.
Yeah, right.
I lost track of the thought that I had.
I get it.
Oh, I know. That even when I think I'm doing good, like even when I think I'm doing good, or I want to hear good job so badly, that I'm acutely aware that I'm really not good.
Right.
I'm really not that great because without a doubt, there's that I'm familiar enough with what's inside me, like the battle that I have in my own heart, to realize, I actually really, really need Jesus.
Right.
Like that's why I'm in this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah.
It's because one day I realized I really need Jesus. I really need the grace, the love, and forgiveness of God. That's what I really need.
Absolutely.
And the more I'm aware of that, I think the less good I feel.
Right.
But the better I feel.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that does. And I think there's two extremes there. And I think, if reading the scripture, it says, there's none good, no, not one. And I'm acutely aware that I'm not good a lot of the time. And you can spiral down with that and start getting pretty down on yourself.
Yeah.
But the bit that I think then or the other extreme you can go is, yes, I'm doing all these good things and I'm better than the other guy. So then my pride rises up.
Yeah.
But the idea that you just pointed out is that goodness only comes from God, and I'm only righteous, to use a biblical term, but I'm only good when I'm connected to Him.
Yeah.
And then as you just pointed out, that should drive our wanting to be more connected to Him.
Yeah. Well, it produces one of two things. Like I'm either going to feel guilty.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about, hey, I'm not good.
I'm not good.
I'm actually not good.
Right.
It's either going to produce guilt in me or it's going to produce gratitude in me.
Right.
Like I'm either going to feel so guilty and let guilt dictate how I orient myself in the world and how I react to other people because I'm dealing with my own guilt because I'm bad.
Been there.
Or it's going to drive me towards gratitude of, I can't breathe without him.
Right.
Like, I'm going to mess up everything without him. Great news. He told me he'd never leave me.
Right.
And he'd never forsake me.
That's right.
So that's going to drive me towards gratitude. And I'm just grateful that I can't do anything to run him off.
Right.
You know, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, I'm going to be really grateful instead. And that's what it's going to produce in my life. But I feel like it's almost like a razor thin, like tightrope that you walk, because you can very easily allow guilt to control your life and be the motive behind everything that you do.
Right. And I know exactly the feeling, and I've been there, and I've been both extremes. I've been, self-righteous, pharisaical type know-it-all, and I've been, hey, I'm a piece of poop, and, because I'm so bad and I've made so many mistakes. So I know what that's like. I also know what it's like to be connected to him and to do good based on my connection to him. And that's the sweet spot. That's where I want to live, and that's where I try to live as often as I can.
Well, and I think what kind of battles, here's another church word, like, because what we're dancing around is at Wellspring, we're teaching through a series, Dinners with Sinners.
Right.
And Jesus actually sits down and has meals a lot of times with a group of people called the Pharisees.
Yes.
And these are just very religious people.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to, whether I'm going to operate in the world in a way where I'm self-righteous or I'm legalistic, where I'm depending on the good things that I do to earn some sort of favor or credit or standing with God or with other people, I think what it comes down to in that particular situation is if I'm going to be, I'm trying to think how to say this, because again, I'm trying to be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like, because I understand, like, if you're a Christ follower, like, I don't want to get up here and be like, you're so religious. Yeah. Because there's like a million holes you can punch and all that stuff. So I'm trying to be thoughtful with how I say it. Is that if I'm going to operate in the world and be a Pharisee, be Pharisaical, the thing that's going to stop me from doing that is that awareness of God's goodness and grace that He has for me.
Right.
And staying in that.
That is
awareness.
That is thoughtful.
That, like, okay, I want to be aware of God's goodness and grace towards me more than I am like how good I am, or the measure of my goodness. Right. Like, because ultimately, and at the end of the day, like, if I'm going to do something good, like, I want the good that you experience to be Jesus, not Brian.
Right.
Because I know Brian's goodness will either only last a second.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's going to last a second, or it's not, or in reality, it's really just not going to be that good.
Yeah.
But if the goodness that you experience from me is Jesus, like, that's what I want you to experience.
Right. And so as you're saying that, there's two ways that I think that I've been able to do good as I think Jesus would want me to do, and there's two things that I do to try and stay on track. One is to read what He says in the Bible. That always does a really good job of pointing me to Him and what's a good thing. And the other thing is being connected to other Christ followers,
to other people,
because they tend to remind me what's a good thing to do and what's not. And whenever I am moving away from those things, when I'm not spending time reading the Bible and I'm not connecting to other believers, then that's when I start falling into that trap of being a Pharisee.
Yeah. As if I'm the authority of what is good.
Yes.
It's like, man, in my life, Jesus is the authority for what's good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to allow Him to point that out.
Right.
And if He's the authority for what's good in my life, He's also the authority for what's good in your life.
Yeah.
And so even if I am going to maybe point out something that isn't good, because I think, like, if you are a Christ follower, I'm not saying that, like, oh, you can never point out like
course not.
something that,
in fact,
error or
we
something.
would want. Yeah. We should be able to do that.
I want you. I want to be corrected.
Right.
If there's something like I know that.
Absolutely.
But if I'm
Me
going to
too.
do that, it's not going to be from my own goodness. It's going to be, if it's going to be effective, it's going to be like, hey man, this is. Let me point you to Jesus' goodness, not my own.
Right.
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 And Jesus used the example of like the log in someone's eye versus the splinter that's in someone else's. It's like, man, I can be so focused on, hey, you have a little something off about you. Let me get this one little thing out of your eye.
Well, that's what we're doing when someone cuts us off when we're driving, right? That's he's got the log in his eye, but I've only got a splinter in mine. It's just a little
Well, meanwhile, I'm walking around with like
a couple of trees growing out of my own eyes, right?
All kinds of things wrong with me that I'm unwilling to even recognize.
Right.
And especially like I said, I think sometimes within the church, people can fall into the idea of they're above someone else.
Yes.
Because they don't, they might not practice or they might not be involved in the particular shortfall or the particular sin that another person is. Because this person has this sin.
Oh my goodness.
That one's really bad.
Yeah.
Mine, not so bad.
Yep.
It's the same thing as driving.
Yep.
Like, that really bad. Mine, not so bad.
And we see that
true, though.
across the multiple denominations, right? My little denomination has this thing right that you don't have, and I'm right because you're not, and I'm righter or I'm gooder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that really strange way to try to relate to other people based on our own goodness.
Yeah.
When I think if I'm a Christ follower, I want to relate to other people based on Christ's goodness, not mine.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, like that's the gospel. He who knew no sin, Jesus, ultimate good.
He's the only good.
Yeah, he's the only good. He who knew no sin
Right.
became that for me.
Yeah.
So that I can have his righteousness.
Right.
So
his goodness.
yeah. The bottom shelf Brian translation.
Yep.
Jesus ultimately good, me ultimately bad.
Yep.
Jesus switch places with me.
Yes.
Right. And so
I love that.
Yeah, the good that I have.
I love that.
The only good that I have is Jesus' goodness.
Yeah.
And so like I can't go, it's meaningless for me to go around and try to measure my good with other people.
Against other people.
Yeah, because it's like, well, all of it's bad.
Yeah.
Like even your best good is bad.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
So because it's flavored and shaded by my different motives or my desire for money or power or whatever it is. Like
Right.
I'm trying to change my circumstance a certain way. And so everything that I'm doing is flavored by these things.
Yeah.
Jesus's goodness isn't, there's no shade on it.
Right.
There's no what's the motive here?
Yeah.
Like it's very plain.
Yes.
Like the motive is I love you and I want to have a relationship with you.
Oh, that's so good.
Like
That's so
it.
good. Yeah.
Like that's Jesus' motive.
Yeah. So I was reading the scripture the other day in Hebrews and talked about one of the other practical ways. I always like to bring this back to practically. So it's great to talk, but what do I do practically? And you were talking about this a couple of sermons ago on Sunday about the number of times that one another is mentioned in the New Testament. It's like 100 times or something like that. And it's this idea that by loving one another, by encouraging one another, by bearing one another's burdens, by praying for one another, talking it out with one another, that's one of the key ways that the whole New Testament talks about understanding what Christ says is good. Yeah. And his goodness and how we can be connected to that and how we can stay in that. So I just love this idea that we should always be looking for ways to encourage one another, to see the loving goodness in one another that we're all making an effort to do.
Man, I certainly would hope that that's how people would view me, right? Like, and I think I've said this before. I don't know if it was on the podcast or I don't know if it was on a weekend, but like, I'm a pastor. I have that title, pastor. So there is all kinds of assumptions about me.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a few.
oh, well, yeah. Well, he must this or he must not this, and
Right.
he must only this, and he must never this. All these different assumptions that, to be honest, like I hate all those. Like to the point of when I meet a new person, like I don't lead with like, "Hey,
I'm a pastor.
I'm a pastor."
Yeah.
Right. Like if I had to wear the frocks, the guys who walk around with the black and the white. If I
The dog collars.
yeah. If I had to do that, oh man,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh no, because
That
of
piles a whole bunch of assumptions.
all the assumptions that come with it, and I think because I'm so aware of that, like all these assumptions that people are making about me and how I hate that, like it has genuinely really helped me. And I can say, like, with my hand on a stack of Bibles, I don't do that to people.
Right.
Like, so if you're going to come hang out with me on a weekend at Wellspring, if you're going to come here, like, you might have assumptions about me, and it's cool. I'm not mad about it.
Yep.
But I promise I'm not doing that with you. Like,
That's it. I mean, we're just trying to be real.
Yeah.
Which is real and honest, warts and all. And and occasionally we'll do some good things as well. And we'd love you to spot those.
Yeah, hopefully.
But the point is that if we know one another and we love one another and we're connected under the headship of Christ, that we can have these conversations and help each other bear good fruit or do good things in the world.
So here's a question you can answer for me. How do I tell if someone else is putting those assumptions on me?
Yeah.
Like, how do I know if I'm relating? How do I know if I'm encountering someone who might be legalistic or a Pharisee or anything?
Yep.
Am I not just judging them for how they're judging me?
Yep.
Like how do I do that in real life?
So a really good question. And I think we all somehow intuitively know when someone's doing that to us. And you might have a couple of different arguments about where that intuition is coming from. It might be a gut, it might be some experience, it might be, I can smell something's not right.
Yeah.
I like to think that it's the Holy Spirit in me who's just giving me a little tweak that, hey, this is not coming across well.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly made wrong assumptions about a person. But I do think I like what you said, like something smells off. I think I can't. It's very clear I can't look into your heart. Like I can't judge. I am not a super great judge of the particulars of your motives.
Right.
Like how exactly you're motivated.
Right.
But like motive has a smell sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, this person's really being open-handed with me, or they're just. Every time I have an interaction with this person, it seems like somewhere along the conversation, they always end up like a step higher than me.
Yeah.
Like their view seems like they're just a little bit down on me a little bit.
Well, look, and I tell you, there's a whole industry of robocalls that work on that basis of coming in and saying, oh, you've got something wrong and my product will fix it and buy from me. And the reason that people get sucked into it is because those folks get really good at looking like they're there to help you, that looking like they've got a better product, whatever it is, a warranty for your car or a prince in Nigeria that needs your help or whatever it might be. But they're playing on our fears that somehow I'm missing out, I'm not good enough. This person's got something that they know about that's better than I know about, and we get sucked into that. Yet, again, that's the point of being connected to one another. Is hopefully when I am connected to other folks and I'm living a real life with other people, that even as I start to drift into those mistakes, that a brother or sister alongside of me can pull me up and say, hey, that might not smell quite right.
Yeah.
That might be something a little off with that.
But even that perspective that you put on it, to think that I would be playing on a person's fear to relate to them. Yeah. Like, especially if this person says that they're trying to be a Christ follower.
Right.
And I'm going to play on your fear that you're not good enough. Man, like.
It turns people away. It doesn't draw people to Christ.
That's the kind of thing that like I'd flip a table over that.
Yeah.
Like I'd flip a table over that.
Yep.
Like that kind of thing really rubs me the wrong way.
Yep.
To see, and I've never really thought about it in that way until you put it as basically what a salesperson would do.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to play to your fear.
Yeah.
That you're not good enough.
Right.
And that's
And don't we all have that, man?
Oh man. Oh yes, absolutely.
It's one of the deepest fears we have, that fear of not being connected, of being rejected, of not being good enough. Those fears are real, they're strong, and they're so powerful. And the only antidote to that is staying connected to Christ through his word and prayer, and staying connected to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Man, to think that like that's what I like, dude. Like being a Christ follower is great.
Yeah.
Like I was talking with some guys earlier this week. It's like,
it is.
like Jesus is the ultimate example of what I want to become. And the beautiful thing is that that's what he wants for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants me to be like him.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I'll never be able to do that. And so literally what the New Testament...
And he says, I know.
Yeah. What the New Testament teaches is, I know you can't.
Yeah.
So I will do it in you.
Yeah.
With you.
Amen. I'm going to say that again. That was so good. Say that again.
Like 100%. What the New Testament teaches is, you like, I have this, I want to be like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, guess what? I want you to be like me too.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm not going to be able to make that.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to do that. So Christ says, I know.
Yep.
And so I'm going to do that in you, with you.
Yep.
Like to think that Christ would work in me.
Yeah.
So that, and then not that like, oh, he's going to do it all on my own and I can just float through life and I don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
But he's going to do it with me.
With me. Yeah.
For other people.
Yeah.
To have that same experience, for other people to be able to experience life. Like that is wild to think about.
And it is crazy. And I just feel like it's just wrapped up when Christ says in the Gospels, he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love others as you love yourself. Okay. And that's the golden rule.
100%.
And I think you just summed it up so well, that and that golden rule that Jesus speaks so clearly in the scriptures is just perfect.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in with us, hanging out with us for a little bit. Share this podcast. Come hang out with us live. You can see us in real life at 10 a.m. on Sundays at the Levin YMCA. We'd love to have you. And see you guys next time.
See you later.